Hopkins. Hey, how lovely to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Oh, hello.
How nice to have you. You've just flown in from Los Angeles, California?
Yes, yes.
Where you live now. How do you enjoy the lifestyle there? Are you a beach person? Do you like to do that?
I'm a beach person. I live in Malibu, and right on the ocean, and it's beautiful.
What a beautiful part of the world
it's
that
beautiful.
is. Do you ever use the Sir part of your title now to gain access to things? I mean, I shouldn't imagine you need to, but it must help, I would have thought.
Just to get a restaurant table sometimes. No, I don't use it too much, especially in America.
That must have been a lovely day, the day you got honoured when you went to get knighted, wasn't it?
That was over, God, that was a long time ago, 15 years ago. I went to the palace and Her Majesty put the sword on my shoulder and then she put a medallion around my neck. And as she did that, very intimately, she said, "Are you busy?" Does she mean now? Yeah, she's not. "Are you working?" I said, "Yes, I am." She said, "Oh, congratulations, well done." She's very nice, very nice.
Well, she know acting is a precarious business.
Yes,
she didn't want to see you waiting tables in Garfunkel.
Oh, done deliberately, yeah. It was a very, very informal ceremony.
But, you know, here's the interesting thing about your career, I think, and there are many things, is that really acting was by no means on the cards for you, because you don't come from a family with any actors in that I'm aware of, or indeed even a kind of an artistic leaning, or am I wrong?
No, my father was a baker, and I was hopeless at school, just dreadful. And my father used to worry and say, God knows what's going to happen to him about me. And then one day, I was 17, back in 1955, a long time ago. And there was a little clipping in the paper for a scholarship at the local Cardiff College of Music and Drama. And I'd been in the YMCA doing a couple of plays. And I came from the same town as Richard Burton. And I went up to Burton's house, cutting a long story short, I went up to Richard Burton's house to ask him for his autograph, a long time ago. And he signed his autograph, and as he was driving away, he's going up to Cardiff Farmers Park. And I thought, I want to be like that, I want to get away and become famous, because I didn't want to work for a living. And so I stumbled into the scholarship. I wanted to be a musician, really, but then I became an actor, so here I am. 50 years later, by default, an actor.
Wow.
And in a way, it's a nice feeling because I don't ever really feel like part of the acting business, which is kind of liberating, you know, because I don't get caught up in it.
Was there a point that you can remember you think, okay, I've cracked this. This is the point where I know I am accepted as an actor. I'm no longer nervous about being found out. I'm no longer feeling like I'm in the wrong place. Because I'm guessing when you started, you must have felt a little bit ill at ease in the world.
Oh, yeah. When you start off, you just feel that, are you going to make it? Are you going to be anything, and so on and so forth. And it's a tough business, really tough business. Young actors ask me today, how do you succeed? I said, I don't know. It's a lot of luck. I suppose I did my first movie, which was The Lion in Winter with Peter O'Toole and Catherine Hepburn.
What a great film.
Yeah, it was a good one, wasn't it? And, you know, I made a couple of other things. I did some television here in the studio. Did War and Peace here in this very studio.
Yeah, well, things have gone up market since then, obviously.
Yeah. The dressing rooms are better too. And then I went off to America for a while, and I did Silence of the Lambs, and that sort of changed everything.
Well, we'll get to that a little bit later, but, you know, let's talk a little bit about Lion in the Winter here, because here you are, you're working with, he said, Catherine Hepburn, Peter O'Toole, and Hepburn, you must have watched her films when you were a lad, I'm sure.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
So to work with her must have been quite something.
It was kind of new. She's very tough, but she was generous to work with, but very ultra professional. O'Toole was great as well. They both were. It was, for me, a great launching pad to push me in the deep end with those two.
You've worked with a lot of stars from that period, and also kind of a lot of the new wave of stars, of course. You know, you've worked with most of the big names in modern cinema as well. Yeah. Is there a comparison? Is the industry very different now than it was today? Are the actors the same calibre, or better or worse? What do you think? Oh,
I think some wonderful actors around, some great actors, and I've worked with some of them. I think it's a different sort of business now. It's all about celebrity, and I mean, a lot of it is about celebrity and, you know, the red carpet parade and all that stuff, and the fashion magazines and the girls and the youth and everything has changed. It's much faster. There are movies coming out every week. I mean, I don't know how many movies are coming out every week, but it's a little bit overwhelming.
They're kind of different films now. I mean, I love cinema, and I love many of the movies that are made now, but you think about the movies, we talk about Lion in Winter, you probably wouldn't get a film like that made today, I would have thought.
No, that cost £2 million. And that's nothing compared to today.
Yeah.
That was a lot of money in those days. I think it was just about 2 million. And so things have changed. I mean, but this film I've just done called Beowulf, I mean, that's an astonishing movie of special effects.
Well, this is it's a strange kind of new type of cinema, really, we're seeing here.
Yeah.
How would you describe the process? Because you're on screen, but you're not on screen, are you, really?
That's right, you're on screen, you're there, but it's in 3D, it's like a cartoon. It's not animation, but it's you, and yet you look like a painting.
So there you are, that's you in the film. That's Sir Anthony as you Hrogarth, is that right?
Right, I look very handsome, don't I? Yeah. But you know, that wig and that beard, I didn't wear that. You wear that for a shot when they put the cameras on you at the beginning for one day. They do all this computerized graphic stuff. I don't know what the hell it's about. And then you go on and you're wearing a jumpsuit or kind of wetsuit covered in beads, and so that the computers can pick it up. I don't know what the hell it's about, but anyway, it's very effective. And so I saw it the other night for the first time after 2 years. And it's all in 3D, and arrows come out of the screen, and knives come out. And after a while, you think, oh, yeah, this is interesting.
Well, Ray Winstone plays Beowulf, and we've seen Anthony Hopkins, and he looks kind of like himself in it. When I look at Ray Winstone there, now there's no... not in a million years.
It's weird. Ray, so you look like this. My wife likes that.
But there's a great moment where he becomes he's Beowulf in the film, of course, and he's got that accent of his. And
it doesn't look anything like him, does it?
No, well, it's the faces still. That's what's so weird.
And the voice.
But he comes and he's like, I'm Beowulf.
Yeah.
And you kind of go, I'm going to sort those monsters out for you.
Yeah. You want to do an impersonation of it.
It's not so bad, is it? Let's have a look at Beowulf. I loved it because, you know, it's an action-adventure movie, but the scenes where you have the monsters in it, because it's so integrated with the rest of it, it's tremendously exciting stuff.
It is good, isn't it?
Really good stuff. In some ways, then, easier to make a film like that, I would have thought, than...
easier why?
For you, in terms of your
time
and
your you're only there for a few days, and you do big scenes, and you don't have to go back to do close-ups. You do it all in one, because you've got a room as big as this, with the ceiling full of cameras.
Wow.
I don't even know how to begin explaining it.
Well, it's great fun. I loved it, and I can't think of someone better to play the king. You've played kings before in the past as well.
Yeah, I've played a couple of kings.
Yeah.
Richard the Lionheart. But I played this as a drunken Welsh king. I had a ball doing it, and I asked Zemeckis, the great director, I said, how drunk do you want me to play him? He says, as drunk as you want to. So I remembered back to my old days, and so I had some fun with it.
You've never been what I would consider, not snob is the wrong word, but someone who seems to differentiate between projects in terms of, I will only do a certain kind of work. I mean, you do out-and-out entertainment films, you do thrillers, you've done kind of like more highbrow work as well. Is there an approach you have where you try and mix and match deliberately, or is it just what grabs your fancy at the time?
It's what grabs my fancy. If it's you know, they said, would you like to work with Robert Zemeckis and do Beowulf? I said, yeah. And I don't differentiate, and I've done some good films and I've done some pretty bad films as well. But you keep working. I think it's good to keep working. I tend to be a little more choosy now because I'm getting older. And I think, well, I'm still around and they seem to want me, so that's okay.
But that's great, isn't it? It must be so much fun to know you can still...
It's a lot of fun to do it.
Well, let me ask you about, you know, you mentioned the different kind of movies you're doing there. If we talk about Silence of the Lambs, that could well have turned out to be a disastrous movie. It could, you know, you don't know in advance when you're making the film.
No idea.
You think about playing that kind of character, it could have been terrible. Of course it wasn't. It was, I guess, it radically changed your life and your career. To what extent do you think it changed your work?
Well, I'd been in Hollywood and I'd worked several films over there, and then I came back to this country and I was working in the theatre, which I was never happy in. I'm not a theatre person. People tell me that I was, but I never felt...
Well, people loved seeing you on stage. I know Olivier, you stole the show from Olivier at one stage in his career when he was ill.
Well, I never felt comfortable in the theatre. I mean, I admire people who can do it, I really do. But my attention span is so short, I couldn't do it more than 2 days, and that was it. I was looking at the calendar. But back in 1989, my agent phoned up. He said, would you like to read this script called The Silence of the Lambs? I thought it was a kiddie's story, a children's story. So he said, I want you to read part of Hannibal Lecter. So I read it, and I knew it was going to be a good one. I knew it was one of those going to be a successful movie because of Jonathan Demme and Jodie Foster. It's a quality
setup right there, those guys
involved. It is.
How did you decide on how to play him? How much input does the director have, or the writer of the movie, and how much do you bring to it yourself, in the case of Hannibal Lecter in particular?
Well, I just read the script and I thought, I know how to play this guy. On the first reading, I know it's an instinct you have.
Know.
And whenever I take a part in the film, I read it and I think, I think I can do this. And a good director will let you do your thing and will direct you accordingly. But So I had a pretty good idea how to play him.
Are you one of those actors who immerses themselves in the role? Are you at all method in your approach?
Not really, no. Never have been. I learned the lines, show up and do it. I learned the lines pretty well, and by doing that, it sort of acts itself out.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm shallow, I don't know, but...
Did you base him on anyone at all?
Hal the Computer in 2001.
Really?
Remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, well done, Dave. And I wanted to get this disembodied voice as if he was a killing machine.
But that was great. 2001, you're right, is that kind of like very cold and yet calculating and unemotional.
Well, the trick is, I guess, to play a man like that, to play him very sane, to play him really normal, and then let the audience do the work. So, hello, Clarice. It's not real FBI, is it? And let the audience do all the work for you. You don't have to play crazy.
Have you ever used that voice on the phone to get slightly better service?
Yes, yeah, I have. Hello there. I remember sitting in the movie theatre in Los Angeles, and it was a private showing of it, and I was sitting behind some friends I'd invited, and I tapped them on the shoulder just afterwards. I said, "Are you enjoying yourselves?" And I was in an elevator in, where's the Century City one day? I was in, this was not that long ago, maybe 10 years ago. I was in an elevator, and it was one of those big steel elevators, stopped on the 4th floor, and a woman got in with a little boy. He was about a 10-year-old kid. And so I was standing behind them, and as the elevator went down, she said, "What does this remind you of, this elevator?" He said, "Hannibal Lecter." So I just stood very quietly, and she turned and she said, "Ah!" So the boy jumped as well because his mother.
Were you tempted to do the old... How do you do that, actually?
It's quite easy.
Well, you say
You can all do it.
But you keep the tongue back there.
I don't know, it's such a long time
Hey,
ago.
but where did that come from?
It was on the moment when I said I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti. And the little voice in my head said, "Go on, do it."
I mean, I should have stopped doing it now, though, because it's beginning to get up close.
It's so boring, yeah.
No, it's not boring. It's a little bit arousing.
You got somebody you can talk to about this? Good psychiatrist.
3 times you played it altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Silence of the Lambs was enough, I guess. But we did the others. They
Well, you know, the other two were fun. I mean, they weren't.
Yeah.
They're never going to be as good as
No.
that, because that was just such an incredible
But I was
thing.
asked if I would do it, and I said, "Okay, let's go ahead and do it." But
You know, what's fascinating about your career, if you allow me to get slightly to pronounce upon it here, is that with just the one simple set of buttocks, you've managed to ride the twin saddles of commercial cinema and the art house.
Yeah.
If you're still with
Have
me.
I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
I
movies
didn't know.
like that, huge hits, huge commercial hits.
Yeah.
Beowulf, I think, will be a huge hit as well, because it's
I
great
guess
fun
so.
and it's
I hope it is.
unashamedly entertaining. And yet you also make the Merchant Ivory movies, which are entertaining, but in a very different way, of course. And I know you've completed another of those, I believe.
Yeah, I did one in Argentina with them. You know, Ishmael Merchant died about 3 years ago.
Sadly, yes.
And James Ivory was there. So I finished that last New Year, I think. And it's called The City of Your Last Destination. I hear it's a good movie, but I enjoyed working with Jim. We did, was The Remains of the Day, Picasso, and what was the other? Howard's End.
Yeah. Well, Remains of the Day is one of my all-time favourite films.
It's a good one, isn't it?
I love the movie and I love your performance in it.
He's a very easy director, James Ivory. He's one of those directors who lets you come to the part, and then he doesn't do very much. He just points. He said, "So where do you want me to exit?" You say, "Or should I come?" "I don't know. That's up to you. You're the actor." And you do a take. You say, "Okay, that's fine. Okay, let's do another one. Maybe do it a bit faster." So he's a very easy director.
So he knows what he wants, though, but he lets it come out of you.
Yeah, he just trusts the actor to do it, very much like Zemeckis does and Jonathan Demme. The best directors, Spielberg, they all let you get on with it, and then they give you a few pointers, a few directions and whatever, but that's the best way to work.
But they trust you, or else they wouldn't have employed you, I guess.
Yeah, you get those directors who want to do the performance for you. I worked with one like that. He wanted to give you every gesture, I said, "Do you want to do the part?" So he backed off. Then I did my Hannibal Lecter look, and he ran away.
Are there any directors left who you'd love to work with? You approach a job in that way, say, "There's someone here I'm after if ever they need me," a particular director or other actors, indeed?
To work with?
Yeah, that you
I
actively
haven't-
would seek out their...
Well, I suppose I'd like to work with De Niro or something like that. But Pacino, directors, I suppose Scorsese. I worked with some pretty good ones.
Yeah.
And I don't think about it much. That's the wonderful thing. You see, I live my life and I don't think about acting at all much. I paint and I write music, and come and do the Jonathan Ross show.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, I don't think about it. It doesn't preoccupy me anymore like it used to when I was a young kid.
And presumably because you've achieved so much, I guess. Would that be right? Or just
no, I'm just getting older.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be 70 at the end of the year. I'm going down to Wales for my birthday.
Well, how lovely. 70 years old.
Yeah, 70.
Wow.
Yeah. And my wife Stella, she won't tell me what the party's going to be like, but I'm going to meet...
So it's a surprise party?
Yeah.
Well, in Wales, it'll be damp.
I know it'll be damp and wet, but I know one thing. I'm going to meet all the kids I used to play with 65 years ago.
Wow.
My little girlfriends. I met them last August. I went down to Cardiff and we got together so I would recognise them. And there they all are, all the people I played with when I was a little boy.
Well, that's going to be so lovely.
Yeah.
Here's a movie you were in a few years back, or maybe last year, I'm not sure, which I really loved. It was a sweet, charming, it was a bit of a surprise movie. I don't know if you saw it. It was called, I think it was called The Fastest Indian, or...
The World's Fastest Indian.
The World's Fastest Indian.
Yeah.
What a sweet story. It was a true story, I believe.
It was a good story. It didn't do much box office in America.
Well, it's not a kind of grabby thing, is it?
And also because they thought, who wants to see the world's fastest running Indian? But it was about a motorbike guy.
And the bike was the Indian, wasn't it?
That's right, the Indian motorbike.
And this is a true story. He actually set a land speed record, this gentleman, didn't he?
Bert Munro from New Zealand, yeah, in Invercargill. And he was 70 years old when he broke the world record in Bonneville Flats. And it doesn't sound that interesting, but it seemed to catch on with the public.
I really liked it. It was a really charming sweet film. Do you find yourself attracted more to those kind of stories as you get older, do you think? Or is it...
Whatever comes along. I'm doing Wolfman next year.
Yeah. You're not playing the Wolfman, are you?
No, I'm playing his dad, Wolfman Senior. So I become a Wolfman as well.
No, do you?
Yeah. I'm unveiling the Tommy Cooper statue down in Caerphilly in February. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. What's it got to do with the Wolfman?
Did you know Tommy Cooper?
I didn't. You know what? I'd love to have known. My brother was in a lift with him once.
Oh, yeah.
And he said he made everyone laugh because he climbed in the lift, he was standing there, and he went, "Oh, my feet are killing me." And everyone burst out laughing because they thought he was joking. Now, I've often thought, what if his feet were actually killing him? Like, what a terrible thing. Yeah. But you do a Tommy Cooper impersonation, don't you?
That's why I brought it up. Because I'm playing Wolfman next year and I'm going to unveil Tommy Cooper.
You're not going to do him as Tommy Cooper, though, are you?
I love Tommy Cooper.
That's the role Tommy Cooper was made to play.
Wolfman,
Did you? I thought you napped Wolfman.
Hey, I could do that, isn't that? Couldn't I?
Did you ever meet him, Tommy Cooper?
No, I'd love to. I think he's the greatest comedian. The Morecambe and Wise and Tommy Cooper, the greatest.
Yeah, Morecambe and Wise were incredible.
Fantastic.
You must have met them, though, I would have thought.
I did meet them. I met them at a party at Sid James's house years and years ago.
Now, hang on a second. We can't just rush past this sentence. You met Morecambe and Wise at a party at Sid James's house. Wow.
Yeah, it was down in Buckinghamshire. It was 1972. I was on Christmas Eve. And they were there. They were terrific. And Tommy Cooper I never met, but I'd love to have met him.
Brilliant talent, of course. Beowulf is opening here in the UK November the 15th. You've got several other movies coming out. You just keep yourself very, very busy, I guess.
Yeah, I have a lot of time off, but it always looks like an actor's busy if they're in films because you have a lot of time off after you finish them.
Haven't you just directed a movie for the first time?
I wrote one, directed it, wrote the music just to show off, and I'm in it. And it's called Slipstream. So, it's a good movie. It's created a bit of controversy. I set out to make people angry. It's kind of anti-movie. It's a movie where I break all the rules of the editing and all that. And it's like a dream. But
this is what a bold thing to be doing, especially, and I don't mean this the wrong way, but an older gentleman to be doing something which sounds quite radical. I mean, you've obviously, still got a lot of interest, enthusiasm in that sort of life.
Keeps me young. Keeps me young.
Let's remind ourselves of a little clip of Sir Anthony in action way back when. This was, obviously a movie that changed your life, and I think it changed modern cinema as well. What a tremendous role, a tremendous film. That's a performance, isn't it? That's the movie, that's the performance. I know what I'm doing tonight. I'm getting it out and watching it on DVD. Sir Anthony Hopkins, ladies and gentlemen. Great to see you again, and I will have a cup of tea.